lot of entrepreneurs are really good in real life, but when you ask them to make a video for the internet or for LinkedIn, they don't like it because they don't like how they look. They don't like how they sound. They don't know what people are going to think. The best way to get through those fears is to get on shows. Welcome to Digital Hospitality. I'm your host, Sean Walchef. This is a Cali BBQ Media production. We started this show back in 2017 with a belief that all businesses need to be digital first, and every business is in the hospitality business, whether they know it or not. Our goal with this show is always to bring you interesting guests, people that are playing the game within the game, the top technologists, hospitality professionals, entrepreneurs in the space. Today, we have Parker Olson of PodPitch. And I am very excited as a podcaster. I think I've figured we do 9 original shows every single week that we're producing in-house. We also have client shows that we produce, but 9 shows is a lot of shows. I believe deeply in podcasting. And we're here to hear what Parker's building. Parker, what's PodPitch?
Sean, check it out. I'm eating my digital barbecue right now, dude. Digital first. Get the NFT digital barbecue first. Assets out.
I love it. Good Bitcoin for barbecue. We were trying to make that a thing, but it didn't work out so well.
Next time, dude. Next time. You're ahead of your phase. Cool. Yeah, man. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I know there's a lot of overlap. In terms of what we're doing, I'm excited to talk about, what we're working on and hopefully engage with some of the audience. And if folks are interested in podcasts, like that, this should be a really good episode for them. And yeah, I'm just excited to chat. I feel like we're overdue right now.
We are overdue. Can you share what is PodPitch? What are you building?
Yeah. I'll give the high level. So I'm Parker. I'm one of the co-founders of a company called PodPitch. What we do is our tool will research and identify the most relevant podcasts for anyone to go and be a guest on that podcast. And then it actually will automatically perform outreach to that podcast, trying to position that individual as an ideal guest for that show. So if somebody maybe wanted to come on your show, PodPitch can help find your show. It could understand, hey, what does the audience care about for this episode? What does Sean care about? Who does he interview? And then it will draft and send an email to you, Sean, that says, hey, Sean, this is why you should interview, Danny from California, because this is what Danny does. And this is why your audience will care to hear from him. So we do that at scale. And in the last 12 months, our users, we have helped our users contact podcasts over 1 million times. And I believe we are responsible for about 8% of all interviews that happened in the last 12 months on podcasts, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's amazing. When did the idea come to you?
Yeah. The idea came maybe 2-3 years ago. I actually built the tool for myself, and I'm non-technical. So anybody that's listening, that's like, oh, you got to be technical to build tools like this. Nope, not true. And I actually built the first version of our tool using free tools, and again, all code free. And literally, what I was doing, my problem at an old business was, hey, I want to get on more podcasts. Why do I want to get on more podcasts? I went on a few podcasts. I got invited on, and what happened was a few actually like business opportunities came my way from people who listened to the podcast. So I had a health food startup was selling food into grocery stores online. And I went on 2 podcasts and told my story, and I have a pretty interesting background. And 2 grocery buyers reached out to me and basically said, hey, I listened to your podcast. It sounds like what you're building is pretty cool. I love your story. We would love to consider carrying your products in our retail, in our grocery chain, right? Can you send me some samples? And that was just from hearing me speak on a podcast.
Yeah.
So what I did was I tried to determine, how do you get on podcasts? And Sean, you know how this works. Do you want to tell everybody how this works manually, how people are doing this?
Yeah, I mean, manually without your tool, which we've been using your tool, and we're very excited to share what we've been learning. But manually, sure, you have to know what shows to go on, right? So you've got to do a Google search, and you've got to figure out, what do I care about? This is restaurant technology. So how many restaurant technology podcasts are there? And there's, a handful. And once you find that handful, you have to find contact information for that handful, right? Then you have to craft an email and you have to, position yourself. There's lots of steps that happen in order to try to get yourself onto a show.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, the very first version of the tool that I built for myself, what it was step one was a data collection automation that I built. So based on a Google search, it could go through the search results, and every single search result that had an Apple podcast URL, it would pull into a spreadsheet. And so I built it where it would pull in the first 1,000 results. So I'd type in like entrepreneurship podcasts. And then in a spreadsheet, it would be 1,000 rows, and it would be each just the Apple URL. And then from there, another automation would automatically get triggered where it would click into the link. And because every single Apple podcast URL and webpage looks identical, I could teach it exactly what pieces of information to grab from that webpage. So then it would go and it would grab the title, the host name, recent episode descriptions, links to transcripts. It would go into those links. It would grab transcripts, and it's putting it all in, a single row. It would be like 50, 100 columns with all the information on a podcast. From there, I then was, tying in, via an API, like an LLM, and I was just qualifying. So I would say, here's information on me. Here's information on topics I want to speak about, audiences I want to reach. With that information in mind, can you score this podcast between 0 and 10 on how good of a fit it is for me? And all of that was running autonomously via automation I built with no code, and actually mostly free tools on the market.
When you launched the product, tell me about the first customers that were using it.
Yeah, great question. Yeah. When we launched the product, we didn't really know how to launch, where to launch, who to launch to, and
go to market.
Anybody knows when you're starting a new business that's net new, it's really hard to figure out if you have something on your hands or not. And for us, the first people we started selling to were actually people that inspired the creation of the business. So I was showing people what I was doing, and somebody was like, I'll just pay you to do this for me. And I was like, okay, cool. And so they gave us money, and then that was a start where then I could go to somebody else and say, hey, somebody's paying me this amount to do this. Like, I think this would be really valuable for you. Like, I can help get you on podcast really seamlessly for this fee. And then negotiating back and forth. And that was early days for us. It was like the first people that came to me and said, I'll pay you for this, were other founders, sort of creators in the space, primarily on LinkedIn, who were using a lot of podcast appearances as marketing materials early on.
What is, for somebody that's listening, what is the value of being on a podcast? I mean, you spoke a little bit about it.
Great question. I mean, this is something we have to talk about, right? Everybody just inherently is like, okay, I go on a podcast, right? And I'm speaking, so your audience is listening, right? That's where most people think the core value is. And that's still somewhat true, but there's so much value outside of just having a listener hear me speak. So what we do internally, so I'll go on this show. When I leave the show, what I'll do is I'll actually look through all the other guests that like you've had on the show and determine like, hey, am I interested in speaking with any of them? Would any of them be good sales prospects for me, good partners for me? And then reach out to them, right? And say, hey, like we were both interviewed on the same show. That is now like a warm connection. It sort of puts us in the same league. It's a really high converting outreach method. So that's something that we do of every podcast that I've ever, mostly ever been on.
Yes.
And then we're taking obviously like the recorded video, we're creating short form video assets. We're putting those out on socials. We're putting those out in like more like marketing, like drip campaigns. And then sometimes what we'll do with the assets, we'll actually retarget web traffic, depending on the asset itself. But some of our customers find like retargeting web traffic with short form video clips from podcasts is their highest converting ad funnel.
Really?
Yep. So where's
the discovery for that creative? On a platform?
Yeah, exactly. So via paid media. So how it works is what they do is, they have a web pixel on their website, and then they're using that traffic to retarget. So let's say like Sean, you go on to, I don't know, that's a random company, Apple's website.
Yeah.
And you're looking at Apple products, and then you leave. And then for the next week, you see, their chief product engineer talking on all these like product design and like audio quality podcasts. I don't know. And for the next week, you see him on like 15 different podcasts, and it sort of ingrains in your head like why Apple has like the best quality sound products, why they're really high quality, and sort of is creating this world where you're like, oh my God, like that product is like the product. Like they're talking about it everywhere. They're getting interviewed everywhere. And then what we've seen and with our customers is that typically after seeing about a fifth or sixth different interview, that's where we see a lot of high conversion. Now, obviously there's cost of acquisition and all sorts of other factors, but have seen that be a successful strategy for many of our users.
What advice do you have to people that are on your platform to help increase conversion of getting on more shows?
Great question. So we have all the data in terms of, we've done outreach to podcasts a million times. We can see when there's no response, when there's a good response, a bad response, what they're responding, if it's paid, not paid. Things that are highly valuable, right, for podcasts and reasons why they might interview you on a show are a few things, at least in my mind, how I've categorized them. Number one, the ability to spread or promote an episode, right? Like, Sean, maybe if I reached out to you and I said, hey, I'd really be interested in coming on the show. This is why I think your audience would derive value. But I also we have access. We have, 8,000 users who respond to our newsletter, and I have 12,000 LinkedIn followers, and I'm going to share clips about this. Okay, that now puts your content in front of a new audience, and it's sort of this audience, spread, right? Or it's not the right word, but that's we see as really valuable. People who have large audiences that they can share an episode with, podcasts really love. We see higher conversion rates of users with that information on their bios. We also see higher conversion rates for other podcast guests or people who are talk show radio hosts, anybody who holds a position where they speak a lot.
Yes. Because
we've seen that to be a concern for podcasts is this guest going to be awkward, weird, a good speaker? You don't want to interview someone where it's really awkward. It's just a bad episode.
Very true.
Yeah. So we see.
I've had less than 10, but I've done thousands of interviews. So yeah, you know right away.
Yeah, there you go. So that's another big thing. Clear value to the audience and credibility is sort of another big one, right? People want to interview credible people who when they come on the show, the audience will be excited about based on their the awards or the recognition or who they are. Yep. Really obvious examples here, the agency that represents Mr. Beast is considering signing up for our platform.
Amazing.
And I'm talking to them, and it's you don't have to write anything in that email besides the fact that it's Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
And anybody will want to interview him because of who he is and the clout that he brings to a show.
Absolutely.
So those are some bigger things, and then any other sort of inherent value that a guest can bring to a podcast. So some people we see say, "Hey, I'll commit to spending $2,500 promoting this episode because it's good for my business," and then you'll sort of see the halo effect of we're going to be promoting your podcast. So we see sort of additional offerings as well, often placed.
How do people get engaged with the product?
Yeah. I mean, you can go to our site, podpitch.com, or check me out on LinkedIn. My name is Parker Olson. I'm pretty active on there. We'll get you set up, probably, get you a demo, show you the tool, show you what it does, what it doesn't do. It's not magic. I mean, if people are really serious or interested in going on podcasts or doing this manually, or paying an agency, the tool is more cost effective. It's going to save you a ton of time. And it's pretty effective at what it does.
That's awesome. What do you
John, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You produce a lot of shows, right?
We do, yeah.
Do all of your shows interview people?
No.
Okay.
A lot of them do. Most of them are interview based for podcasts, but we have gotten into different types of content as well.
Yeah. And then what's the value proposition for you, right? You ask me how are people getting value going on podcasts, but also for podcast hosts. And I know that I come across a lot of people, so do you, of who are thinking about starting a podcast, right? It feels like a good idea, but what are the real tangible ROI moments for
I think
for
the
podcasts?
biggest thing for me is business development, is understanding that if it wasn't for the podcast outreach, me going on someone else's show or someone coming on my show, it's not that I wouldn't have met that person, but it's a purposeful conversation where it requires me to do deep work on the guest or on the host. So I'm learning their digital footprint, who they are, what they've done, why am I having this conversation? And I'm taking it a step further where it's my duty, my obligation to either give to the audience of like, what does their audience care about, or what can my audience learn from you? I know that my audience is based off entrepreneurs, creators, people that love technology, people that believe in storytelling. I was excited to have you on the show because you're building something that I believe is truly valuable to help people get on more podcasts, to position themselves as better thought leaders, to build their brand identity, to work on crafting a better story. I mean, even the best entrepreneurs on earth, the more that they podcast, the better they get on stage in real life, because they know how to better answer questions. They know how to better tell a story. It's reps.
Yeah. And something you mentioned, and I didn't explicitly call out, but it's sort of, it's like a softer value, but some people come and use our platform and they're like, I literally just need to go on podcast because I don't even know how to explain my product. And if I have to talk about it enough times, like I will get really clear on communicating my value proposition and like what we're actually doing. And like, it's a forcing function, as you mentioned, to like do the work, to really get crisp on like what you're doing, who you're providing value for, what is that specific value proposition, right? All the above.
Yeah. It's public speaking. It's internet speaking. I mean, that's the biggest fear. It's the biggest fear that humans have, is public speaking. And the best way to get over that fear is to actually do it. And now we live in a world where a lot of entrepreneurs are really good in real life, but when you ask them to make a video for the internet or for LinkedIn, they don't like it because they don't like how they look. They don't like how they sound. They don't know what people are going to think. The best way to get through those fears is to get on shows.
Yep.
You get on shows, people ask you questions, and you get through that fear.
Yeah. The other thing that I just want to mention here and is around, have you ever heard the concept digital doppelganger?
Digital doppelganger. No, but that sounds like someone else like me is producing content like me somewhere out there. The AI version of Sean that's hosting other shows.
Kind of. Well, the concept is that like we all actually create our own digital doppelganger. So like your LinkedIn profile, your digital presence digitally is just like in somebody's mind, like an individual. And a lot of people are different in terms of who they actually are and then how they're perceived online. And it's like this doppelganger effect is how I've heard it described. And what podcasts do in a really cool, fantastic, lovely way is like they bridge the gap between like somebody's digital emoticon. You see somebody post on LinkedIn all the time or Twitter all the time, and it's like, oh, I think I know who they are, versus when they're speaking on a podcast, like you really know who that actual person is.
Correct. It's long form. It's a lot different. Long form versus short
form. A lot different. It's way more authentic too. And I think in terms of just like credibility and trust building, it's really strong. I mean, I still get, I got a text the other day from an old friend, and he said, hey, I came across some of your podcasts. I listened to a few, and like, are you guys hiring?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, like I'm flattered, but like, I don't know, like, kind of flattering. He's like, dude, like I'd quit my job and come work for you guys right now just based on what I heard on the podcast. That's awesome. And I'm like, damn, like that's crazy. In the past, I've been offered jobs off of people who have listened to my podcasts.
Yep.
Did an interview. I got offered like to run 2 companies for a private equity fund. And it was an old friend. And he's like, hey, I'm the CFO here. We're looking for an operator. We're interviewing some people, but I listened to 3 or 4 of your podcasts, and I think it's you. Like, you don't have to interview. If you want the roles, they're yours.
Yeah. And I mean, I think for me, speaking of the value of podcasting it is a long form conversation. It's no longer audio only. When people think podcast, before they used to think of audio, but now the best podcasters understand the power of video, the power of taking that long form content, turning it into short form content. But when you get good at repurposing these podcast appearances, you truly build out a sales force. Right now, you and I are having this conversation. We're live streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. We're going to repurpose it on the digital hospitality feed. But there's also other clips of me from other shows that I've done 3 months ago that are in somebody's LinkedIn feed where Sean is telling a story with another restaurant owner. So it's like literally there's, to your doppelganger point, the more that you do it, the more top of mind you are to other people on LinkedIn, on Instagram, in email, like all of those places we show up and we teach people how to show up more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Top of mind. Content is king, right? People forget, like, I don't even know who I met with yesterday, and I met with 15 people yesterday. I'm not even, I'm not even sure if I could give you a single name because it's just like, that's how fast.
I met with a lot of people this morning. I can barely remember.
Yeah, that's just how fast the world works. And so it's, staying top of mind is like, it's continuous content. And it's only just becoming more demanding in today's world.
Yeah. And then for people that go to events, trade shows, conferences, business development places, the power of somebody seeing you on a podcast before they meet you in real life is extremely eye-opening and powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool, Sean. Well, dude, it was fun hanging
Parker.
out. Yeah.
I appreciate it. PodPitch. We'll put links into the description of this episode. Parker's available on LinkedIn. He's eating digital ribs. He'll be in San Diego one day eating actual ribs from our barbecue location. But Parker, we appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. And you guys stay curious, get involved, ask for help if you want to reach me at Sean P. Walchef. Instagram's probably the fastest, but LinkedIn, all the platforms. Thank you, Parker. Appreciate it.
See you, Sean.
See ya. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this long, you are part of the community. You're part of the tribe. We can't do this alone. We started, no one was listening. Now we have a community of digital hospitality leaders all over the globe. Please check out our new series called Restaurant Technology Substack. It's a Substack newsletter. It's free. It's some of our deep work on the best technology for restaurants. Also go to YouTube and subscribe to Cali Barbecue Media. Cali BBQ Media on YouTube. We've been putting out a lot of new original content. Hopefully you guys like that content. If you want to work with us, go to betheshow.media. We show up all over the United States, some international countries. We would love to work with you and your growing brand on digital storytelling. You can reach out to me anytime at Sean P. Walchef on Instagram. I'm weirdly available. Stay curious, get involved, and don't be afraid to ask for help. We'll catch you next episode.